Well, hello, everybody. A very warm welcome along to Sportsbet TV with me, Paul Alster. It's great to be here with you. I'm continuing my grand tour around Europe. I've now arrived in Yorkshire, having been on the continent last week, and it's a bit nippy, a bit cold up north. But there's lots of great racing to look forward to this particular weekend. And it's a slightly shorter briefing than normal because I'm still on me jollies, so to speak, but I still have three recommendations for you, including one at the Breeders' Cup coming up on Saturday night, one of the great race meetings in the world. Well, if you're new to this service and just discovered us, please press the subscribe button just below this screen, and then you'll be able to stay in touch with all my bulletins. They're bulletins in which I'm trying to find decent priced, even big price runners to bet each way. And over the course of the last year and a half, things have gone very well, showing consistently good profits. Now, last week, I gave three runners. One of them was a non-runner, Majorca. Mengley Khan, I'm afraid, didn't do himself justice. He didn't run as well as expected. Revels Hill did run well until getting very tired after the final fence and just running out of a place there. So it was a blank weekend last week from the two that did run. But overall, October was again a profitable month. This time, £376 profit to the level recommended £10 each way stakes. And that was in particular due to the 33-1 recommendation of Volatile Analyst who won at York in October. And of course, the 14-1 winner, Seeley Way in the Champion Stakes. So we were always going to finish in the black there. So another good month, and that's three big winning months in a row now. So we're going to move on for our first bulletin in November, and I'm going to take you to the first of my three choices, which is at Naas, and it's in the 155 race. I really do like my Irish racing, keep a very close eye on things. And the race in question is called the Brown Lad Handicap Hurdle over 2.5 miles. There are 18 runners, and the going is yielding. And for those of you that have been following me for a while, you may recall that 12 months ago, this very day, I tipped a horse in this very race called Barnaviddaun at 12-1. And it went on to be the subject of a big gamble, and it won at 9-2 in a big field. So we're hoping it's going to be a lucky race, and we'll get more of the same. And as with last year, it's a really open race. And at the time of this recording, which is not even lunchtime on Friday, so I've got to take my mum out, it's 5-1 the field. 5-1 the field. And amongst those disputing favouritism is the James Barco trained Jiving Jerry, who was a recent winner at Galway. So that could go off favourite. Damalisk is an interesting one with Eddie and Patrick Harty. Now, this one was favourite for this race last year and finished second, owned by legendary gambler J.P. McManus. And it went on to be a very good third in a pretty hot race after running in this last year, and is a big danger to all, Damalisk. We've got Minx Tiara, who is actually £4 better off for just 3/4 of a length with Jiving Jerry. So I think that one could easily be thereabouts. And Harry Rogers, a good Irish trainer, has got a horse called Lord Erskine, who's been in solid form on the flat of late, and it wouldn't surprise to see him go well. But my choice is at double figure odds. And the horse in question is called ESPANITO BELLO. And it's trained by Barry Connell and is the mount of Donald McInerney. Now, this horse is a 7-year-old. It's had 10 runs and won 3 of them. And the most significant thing of all is that all 3 of those wins have come at Naas. So if you remember old Big Matt, John McCririck, he always used to go on about horses for courses. Well, there's definitely something in that old adage. And I think that ESPANITO BELLO is probably at least £7 better at Naas than anywhere else. And at this track, he's won a bumper, a maiden hurdle, and a beginner's chase. And in December of last year, he beat the very useful Cocoa Beach by 18 lengths. Now, that is red-hot form, and that was just proof that he loves it at this track. He went on to be second to Cocoa Beach in a Grade 2 after that at Navan, away from Naas, in February. And then he didn't stay when they tried him in the Irish National on his final start last season over nearly 3 3/4 miles. That was too far for him. Now he returns after 215 days off, but has twice won as a fresh horse. So I'm not particularly concerned about the absence. And he's coming back to hurdling where he has a mark £16 lower than his last chase mark. So potentially he is nicely handicapped. Now, as I say, I'm recording this very early before noon on Friday, and William Hills are the only firm up, and good for them for having a crack at the market. They're suggesting 14-1. It might not be too far off the mark. You may get better once all the markets open up and start to compete. But 14-1 each way for 5 places, I think that's a fair guide price. And I'll be expecting ESPANITO BELLO to run a really big race for Barry Connell. So that's my first selection. Just to mention, by the way, that if you're interested in horses at shorter prices, but still value prices, then check me out at freebets.com here at YouTube, where I've been doing really well. And last week with a winner, second and a third, and the winner was a 5-1 shot. So that was another profitable week on that service. But it might just be that you fancy adding one in here and there at a shorter price to your multiples. So having given you the first selection, let me take you on to number 2. And this one is at Doncaster. Now, I did say a week or two back that I would just about finish with the flat, but just got a bit tempted by one in particular here at Doncaster. And it is the November handicap, the 240, the last big handicap of the flat season on turf in Britain, the traditional curtain closing final act of what's been another great season. And the going is forecast soft, although there hasn't been much rain here in Yorkshire. So it wouldn't surprise me if it goes good to soft by Saturday, although they do say that there could be a few drops of rain for bonfire nights. So, it could be a bit of a damp squib, so to speak. So we'll see what the ground is at Doncaster, but it's going to be on the soft side, that's for sure. Well, as ever, the November handicap is a red hot race, and they're betting 8-1 the field. So you pay your money and you take your chance. And there's loads of horses you can give a shout to, including First Light of the Gosdens. You've got Mr. Curiosity, trained by Charlie Fellows. Nice horse called East Asia, trained by Ian Williams. Got to say, wouldn't be one of my favourite trainers, but he's doing okay with East Asia. And Flying Solo for David Manusia, who's done really well, as we know. And there's also cheap pieces on the top weight for the first time. Global Storm, who's quite classy, for Charlie Appleby and Godolphin. All of those likely to give their supporters something of a run for their money, along with another nice horse called Sam Cook, trained by Rafe Beckett. But for me, there's a horse at a decent price here, big price, called All Right Sunshine. I'll say that again. It's called All Right Sunshine. And it's trained by Keith Dalglish and is the mount of Callum Rodriguez, who, of course, did us a tremendous favour a few weeks ago with Volatile Analysts that we put up at 33-1. So they owe us nothing, this combination. But I've got a feeling that All Right Sunshine is going to run a big race. Now, Keith Dalglish also runs a horse called Platinum Card in the race, who is not without a chance. But I fear that he may, to some degree, struggle with the trip. Now, All Right Sunshine is an interesting horse because he started off in the National Hunt Sphere winning 3 bumpers. He was very talented, and he's shown a lot of ability as well on the flat, winning at all distances from about 1.5 miles to 2 miles 1 furlong. So stamina is certainly not in doubt in his case. Now, he's put up a series of good runs this year, including a 1.5 mile handicap win at Hamilton in May, off a mark of 97. And then he went on to be beaten only 4 lengths in the Northumberland Plate over 2 miles. He came back after a 70-day break and ran an absolute blinder. He was beaten just half a length by a good middle-distance staying handicapper called Island Brave, and that was at Haydock in the Old Borough Cup, just failing by half a length. Then he went back to Haydock on his most recent outing on the 4th of September, and he caught a bit of a tartar there in a horse called Summer's Night, who absolutely bolted in and was clearly a long way ahead of the handicapper. Now, he finished 3rd that day. It was a race that probably wasn't run to suit him, but he would never have beaten that very good winner. But this is a horse who is tough and is genuine, and a strong run, 1.5 miles in soft ground, which is going to feel for many like 1.75 miles, is absolutely ideal for him, in my view. He will not lack for stamina. And I think he's just a sporting shout in a race that's thrown up lots of surprise winners over the years. And at 25-1 each way, And I've already seen that Betfred are up at 25s, and that's for 7 places. I think that All Right Sunshine has got a really good chance. And I think, given that Keith Dalglish and Callum Rodriguez have already done us a big turn in the recent past, I think they could do us another one here with All Right Sunshine. And I think he's going to run a massive race. So that is my second selection. And my third and final one, well, again, I did say I wasn't going to get involved with the flat, but of course it's the Breeders' Cup this weekend. And I noticed 1 or 2 people on the comments last week were asking if I had anything for the Breeders' Cup. And I've got to say I wasn't planning to have anything at all, because it is difficult to try and match up horses that have been doing really good things in Britain and Europe this season, going at the end of a long season from a cool autumn, even chilly now, across to the heat of the US, and taking on the very best of the Yanks on their home turf or dirt. Well, because of that, it's been a toss-up as to whether or not I'd put one up, but there is one that really does catch my eye, and it's in the Breeders' Cup Mile, due off at 10:20 British time on Saturday night. 14 runners in the Great Breeders' Cup. The going is forecast firm. It's a race that has so many memories, but I don't think there'll be much argument that among the greatest was that remarkable comeback ride after his period in prison by the veteran Lester Piggott on Royal Academy back in 1990. It was one of the most breathtaking riding performances I think I've ever seen. And the Longfellow got Royal Academy home for Vincent O'Brien. And it has to be one of the great rides, I think, of the 20th century, in my view. And I remember even Graham Good being all but speechless when commentating on that for Channel 4. Anyway, good thing about the Breeders' Cup Mile is that it's been a good race for European raiders. 2 of the last 3 have gone to Europe. Expert Eye won it for Sir Michael Stout back in 2018. And last year, Aidan O'Brien pulled the rabbit out of the hat with Order of Australia winning at 4-0, 40-1. Now, this time there are 4 European runners, but there are also 2 European reserves. So I think we're guaranteed the 4 runners, more or less. And one of them is a pretty hot favourite, and that is the Charlie Appleby trained Space Blues, who runs in the Godolphin Blue. And he goes on any ground, this horse. He's a great international traveller. And he won a Group 1 last time out in France at the big Longchamp meeting a few weeks ago, taking the Prix de la Forêt, where he beat Pearls Galore, who will reoppose. Now, that was on heavy ground, but this horse can go on fast ground as well. And he is a big player if he's recovered from those exertions in Paris. Now, the pick of the US runners is a horse called Mo Forza, who the Americans really are keen on, trained by Peter Miller. He's won his last 4, so he goes for the 5-timer here in the Breeders' Cup Mile. He was last seen winning the Grade 2 event at Santa Anita. Now, Aidan O'Brien has Mother Earth, who's been having a tremendous season and has run a series of outstanding races. We've got the second of Charlie Appleby runners, Master of the Seas, who was beaten that much in the 2000 Guineas by Poetic Flair. And significantly, he was beaten on fast ground by just that much. So he's a horse who I think will appreciate the surface in America. And there's a horse that the Americans also like called Blowout, trained by Chad Brown, who was the last time out Grade 1 winner. So those are all horses with clear claims on the book. My choice, though, is Pearls Galore, one of the Irish raiders, trained by Paddy Toomey and the Mountain Billy Lee. And this is a really, really progressive filly. She's from a yard having a marvellous season. Paddy Toomey, a breakthrough season. He's had a number of very classy performers, and none more so than a horse who I think is going to be a star next year, La Petite Coco. I think she's a horse who could possibly win an Eclipse or a King George next year, La Petite Coco. Now, Pearls Galore finished second in the mud in Paris a few weeks ago to the favourite for Saturday's race, which is, of course, Space Blues. But although she ran an absolute blinding race, there's no doubt at all she's a better horse on a sound or even a fast surface. And for me, it's very significant that Paddy Toomey is travelling her all the way over to America to take on Space Blues again. Now, why would he do that if he's been beaten by her? I think that he thinks the better ground and probably the track are going to suit her. And she, of course, was a next second on her previous start to France in the Matron Stakes in Ireland to No Speak Alexander, the horse that I tipped, and it won at 25-1. And She ran a really, really good race with Mother Earth finishing just in behind her that day. So prior to that, she'd also won 2 Group 3s in Ireland, beating good horses at Fairyhouse and Tipperary. She's improving so fast. Now, the big question mark with any filly at the end of a hard season is whether she's gone over the top, whether she's still retaining her level of form after a hard season. But Paddy Toomey, for my money, is just up there with Aidan O'Brien as one of the best horsemen in Ireland. And I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have sent Pearls Galore all the way to America if he thought there was any doubt she wasn't still more or less in the zone. Of course, you never know until you run them. And hopefully she's had a good trip to the States and she had all the COVID papers in order, as I had to have, coming in here and going everywhere else. Happily, she doesn't have to wear a mask. Anyway, Pearls Galore for me, I think is going to run a massive race. And she is 16-1 each way, and that's for 4 places. And it wouldn't be surprising if some of the firms, when you shop around, go 5. But I actually think she's got a massive chance of turning the tables. And if you were given the choice of betting Space Blues again at 9-4, back on a fast service after heavy last time, or Pearls Galore at 16-1 each way, for me, it's a no-brainer. I might prove to be barking up the wrong tree, but I will not be backing the favourite. I'll be backing Pearls Galore at 16-1, or maybe even better once the markets really get moving into late Friday and Saturday. So that is the third and final selection for me here at Sportsbet for this coming Saturday. Remember to check out my shorter price selections at freebets.com. I'll be back next week, continuing my travels before returning home the week after, but I'll be back with another bulletin and I'll look forward to speaking to you then. Let's hope they all run well. Give us a bit of a shout. But for now, from me, Paul Alster, I wish you a great weekend. Enjoy Bonfire Night. Bye-bye for now.